I've done a great many things. I was a forest ranger in the United States, or worked with the Forest Service for 2 years, digging ditches and building roads and dams and fighting fire. I worked on a sheep and cattle ranch in New Mexico, herding sheep and cattle and building fences. I was a teacher at one time. I've done just about everything you can do. I've had the opportunity of playing many roles and a great variety of roles through the years, but I've fortunately been able to drop the role at the end of the time it was being played and return to whatever life I enjoy.
Company, run!
In 1956, public interest in advertising dollars had switched to television. Gunsmoke was an exception to the rule. Its radio success in the television era led CBS and Norman Macdonnell to launch a second adult western. It was called Fort Laramie.
Fort Laramie. Fort Laramie, starring Raymond Burr as Captain Lee Quince. Specially transcribed tales of the dark and tragic ground of the wild frontier, the saga of fighting men who rode the rim of empire, and the dramatic story of Lee Quince, Captain of Cavalry.
Captain Quince.
Sergeant Gorse, how are you?
Oh, it's sure good to see you, Captain. You look kind of funny, though.
What do you mean?
Well, them clothes, mufti. I ain't used to you out of uniform.
I'll be back in uniform at midnight tonight, Sergeant. We'll stay in town till then, and you can buy me a drink.
Me? I thought you was going to get rich in St. Louis.
Did I say that?
Well, you talked about nothing else before your leave come through.
Just proves you shouldn't believe everything you hear, Sergeant.
Yes, sir. I'll try to remember that.
See that you do. And to really fool you, I may go back to St. Louis.
Quit the Army?
Man can make money there, Sergeant. I don't mean gambling. I mean honestly. In an honest business. Buying things. Selling them.
Well, sir, the Army's sure no place for a man who wants to get rich. I'll say that.
The Army's no place for a man who wants to do any living at all. You're either turning black with the boredom of garrison, or you're riding hell-bent into nowhere.
It's sure enough true, Captain.
Oh, come on, let's get our drink. How's B Company, Sergeant?
Company's fine, sir. Major Daggett's going to be mighty glad to see you back at Fort Laramie.
He isn't going to see me till midnight.
He'll be waiting up. Send me into town to tell you.
Oh? Something wrong?
Yes, sir.
Well, what?
Arapahos. They've been raiding for horses. Massacred a whole family over in the basin about 10 days ago.
You mean they jumped the reservation?
Not the whole tribe, just a few of them, I guess. Mr. Seibert's took B Company out last week, but he didn't have any luck.
Why not?
I don't know, Captain. I wasn't with him.
What?
I've been on sick list till 2 days ago.
Sick list? You?
Yes, sir. Pack mule kicked me in the belly.
Oh. Well, a little whiskey will cure that, Sergeant. Well, here we are.
Mr. Mr. Seiberts is feeling mighty bad about it.
Your belly?
Like I said, it's good to have you back, Captain.
Bottle of rye and 2 glasses.
Coming up. The Army. Hey, Moylan. Look at what came in.
What's his trouble?
8 soldiers, I guess. Like a lot of people. Since Richmond.
Yeah, too much war, maybe. I guess everybody'd like to forget it now.
We'd all like to forget it. There's a war still going on.
You're right, sir. Who do they think stands between them and all the hostiles out there waiting to hack them to pieces? Who does all their dirty work for them?
It isn't like people to be grateful for any favors, Sergeant.
No, sir, I guess not.
When I think of the troops aching for home while they sweat and freeze and spill their blood all over the frontier for 50 cents a day, it makes me mad.
Tell me about St. Louis, Captain.
Here's your liquor, gentlemen.
Hey, you! Hold it!
You know them, Sergeant?
No, sir.
What's your trouble, mister?
My name ain't Mister. It's Rudio. I ain't talking to you. I'm talking to the soldier.
I'm with the soldier.
You stay out of this. You know what's good for you.
You tell him, Moylan.
What do you want from me? I never saw you before.
Yeah. You won't want to see us again after we're through with you.
What's this all about?
We don't like soldiers drinking where we drink, mister. We like to teach 'em a lesson now and then. Don't we, Moylan?
Yeah, we do it, too.
Now,
You
just
shut up, mister.
What's the matter with you? Coming in here with a soldier. Gonna drink with him, too.
Rudio, I just guess that he ain't no better than no soldier himself. Just scum floating with scum. That's what I call it. Well?
Okay. Sergeant Gorse,
Yes, sir.
you can have Moylan there.
Thank you, sir.
Move out.
I'll buy you that drink now, Captain Quince.
You can buy the first one, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
In its January 30th, 1956 issue, Broadcast Magazine gave the series a glowing review, also noting that each episode cost $15,000 to produce.
You're half an hour late, Captain Quince.
I was on the post at midnight, Major. I wanted to get back into uniform before reporting.
I'm glad of that, anyway.
I kind of figured you would be.
You still think I'm too Army, don't you, Lee?
We've known each other a long time, Major.
Since Vicksburg with Grant.
I remember a night in Chattanooga. You weren't very Army. I've forgotten the girl's name, of course.
Captain Quince, I trust Sergeant Gorse told you about the Arapaho trouble.
Yeah. They're out raiding for horses. They've slaughtered a family over in the basin.
It's got to be stopped. Settlers are beginning to wonder what the 2nd Cavalry's doing at Fort Laramie.
If this goes on, there won't be any settlers.
Hard enough homesteading this country without a man waiting for him and his family to be massacred by renegade Indians.
I'll take a patrol out in a few days, have a look around.
You'll take B Company out tomorrow morning.
May I make a suggestion, Major Daggett?
If it's in order.
Lieutenant Seiberts took B Company out and found nothing. Sure, he's green, but a few Arapaho can hide easy from a whole troop of cavalry beating its way through this country. Give me 12 men. I'll scout those Indians, get them set up. Then I'll come back for the company.
No. No, it's too slow. There isn't time.
Better let me try it, sir.
I said no, Captain.
You haven't got very far your way, Major.
You have your orders.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Captain.
Yes, sir.
I heard you and Sergeant Gorse were in a brawl earlier this evening in town.
Conduct unbecoming an officer.
You should learn to control your temper, Captain.
I wonder what family the Arapahos are putting the knife to tonight, Major Daggett.
Should never start this sort of thing with you. Take your patrol.
Yes, sir. Any further orders?
May have Sergeant Gorse and Lieutenant Seiberts, but no other officers or non-commissioned officers.
Right.
Pass your men through the main gates of the post half hour before reveille. Any questions?
No, sir.
Then move out.
Much of Gunsmoke's crew was involved, and the show had the same gritty realism and attention to historic detail. Fort Laramie was located on the eastern Wyoming prairie, about 100 miles from its current namesake city. Beginning in 1834, it was an important fur trade outpost, soon becoming a major stopover for those going west to Oregon.
He's raising horses.
A man's a fool.
In 1849, the U.S. government bought the site. For the next 40 years, Fort Laramie would become a U.S. Army post.
Am I, Mr. Seiberts?
Located near the North Platte and Laramie rivers, the area was home to the Sioux, Cheyenne, and Arapaho. It also served as a station for the Overland Stage and the Pony Express.
I'm afraid I don't understand, sir.
You agree too easily, Mr. Seiberts. Better learn to think for yourself.
For the lead role of Captain Lee Quince, Macdonnell chose Raymond Burr, a 39-year-old veteran of film, theater, and radio.
You started in school and in church, doing the church productions and the grammar school productions and the secondary school productions. I was always very much involved.
What was your
went on from there?
first professional part?
Oh, I think I played Caiaphas the High Priest in a church production, which was professional because we were paid for all our own expenses. I had to buy my own beard, and I was 11 years old at the time.
1,000 yards between men. If there's any Indians around, I want to know it.
Fort Laramie took to the air with this debut entitled Playing Indian on Sunday, January 22nd, 1956 at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time over all CBS stations. Cast as Sergeant Gorse and Lieutenant Seiberts were Vic Perrin and Harry Bartell.
Speaking of which, Harry and I frequently were twin villains on a show. We never knew whether Harry was going to be the high-voiced villain or the low-voiced. Whoever got the first line had his choice.
Looks as if they slaughtered every one of them.
Man, a woman, a young boy. Is this the whole family, Mr. Seiberts?
That's all of them, sir.
Thank God for that.
Every one of them scalped. Even the boy.
At least they weren't tortured.
No, sir.
Tell me, Mr. Seiberts, was the other family like this?
Why, yes, sir.
I see.
Made quite a mess, didn't he?
Take a good look, Sergeant. How many horses did this man have, Mr. Seiberts?
About 10, as I remember, sir.
Well, Sergeant?
Funny thing,
What is?
well, Captain, I don't know how them Arapahos could have surprised him so fast.
What makes you think they did?
Not many arrows around. If the men had had a chance to put up any fight at all, there'd be a lot of arrows.
Is that all?
Yes, sir.
You sure?
Well, yes, sir.
Sergeant Gorse, I excuse Mr. Seiberts because of his lack of experience. But you're a disgrace to the cavalry. Ought to clean your sleeve and send you back to stable detail.
Yes, sir.
Don't stand there, Gabbin. Use your eyes.
I'm looking.
Look harder.
There ain't no tracks.
No tracks?
Somebody dragged him out with a blanket.
Somebody? Why do you say somebody, Sergeant?
I don't know, sir. There's something wrong here.
Look, how old's that boy, Sergeant?
Maybe 12, 13.
Old enough to be a brave in a couple of years if he was an Indian?
Yes, sir.
Don't Arapahos usually keep a boy that age and try to make a warrior out of him?
They always do. No, wait. Them tracks, they wouldn't hide their tracks.
No, they wouldn't.
Captain.
Yeah?
Now I know why you got so mad. I'm pretty mad myself.
Took you long enough. Mr. Seiberts.
Yes, sir?
A man wearing moccasins doesn't care about his tracks. He's got nothing to hide. Wasn't the Arapahos did this. Wasn't Indians at all. It was white men.
By 1956, many of the West Coast radio actors were also doing television and film work. Each episode of Fort Laramie was rehearsed and recorded in a single evening at CBS's Studio One. Like Gunsmoke, Fort Laramie had strong female roles, realistic and sympathetic portrayals of Native Americans, and an emphasis on life's frontier struggles. Nearly all scripts were written by either John Meston, Kathleen Height, John Dunkel, or Les Crutchfield.
I first came to know Les when he was still working at Caltech as an engineer. But at that time, which must have been 46 or 47, he came in to see Bill Robeson with a script for a Columbia workshop, which Bill bought, and Les was on his way toward being a very successful writer. Les worked with me on Escape, Romance, a number of shows. And when we did start Gunsmoke, it just was obvious that Les would have to be part of the family, which indeed he was.
One script, Never the Twain, was written by William N. Robeson. Lieutenant Seiberts and Aho Appa, daughter of tribal chief Spotted Tail, become star-crossed lovers.
Mighty lot younger. Nothing on my cheeks but peach fuzz.
Must have been rugged in those days.
Rugged? Why, son, there weren't a town or village twixt St. Joe on the Missouri and Monterey on the Pacific. Man had room to breathe. Now look at it. Immigrants pushing west every year, filling the plains with dust and damnation. I can't say I blame the Indians for being a mite put out about it.
I'd expect you to look at it their way.
What are you signifying by that, son?
Well, I understand you've been closer to the Indians than some of us.
Well, so I have, in a manner of speaking. Lived amongst them off and on for many a year. Fine people. Decent people.
I saw how decent they were up on the Powder River. Man doesn't look very pretty after they've been decent to him.
What part of the state you call home, son?
Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm. Well, how'd you feel if all of a sudden a lot of people started crowding into your hometown, moving onto the streets you live in, moving right square into your house, maybe? What'd you do?
Well, I don't know.
And I know. You'd throw them out, that's what. Well, this whole prairie belongs to the Indian. Yes, sir, it's his home. And he feels about it just the same way as you do about your home.
It isn't the same thing.
Well, it might seem the same to an Indian.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, wait a minute.
What is it?
Indian.
Where?
Down there in that draw.
Oh, yeah. Hey, his horse is bucking.
Yeah.
Look.
Well, first time I ever knowed an Indian to get thrown off his horse. Let's go. Come on, get. Hey! Rattlesnake.
He's gonna strike. That's why her horse threw her.
Yeah, that snake ain't going to be much use no more.
You better get a tourniquet on that leg before the poison starts moving.
Well, you could use your revolver, Lanyard.
Oh, sure. Tell her not to be afraid. Tell her we'll take care of her.
understand you.
Oh, well. There. It's got the blood stopped. Now, I'm going to have to cut your leg so I can suck out the poison. I'll try not to hurt you.
She's fainted.
It's just as well. I had to make sure to get all that poison out.
That Indian blood taste any different from regular blood?
What are you talking about? Blood's blood.
That's what I've been talking about.
Help me get her over to my horse.
Where are you taking her?
Back to the fort.
Well, you think that's smart?
We can't leave her out here. She needs a doctor's care.
Well, we could try to find her people's camp.
Then leave her with them to die of blood poisoning?
She's only an Indian, son.
All right, Tolliver, that's enough. Let's get our horses. It's a long ride back to the fort.
Unfortunately, with no sponsorship, Fort Laramie lasted only 10 months before being canceled after the October 28th, 1956 episode. The next year, Raymond Burr was cast as Perry Mason and moved into TV, where he'd remain a fixture for the rest of his life.
Well, you see, we have a fortunate thing called television today. I made 90 motion pictures between 1946 and 1956, and they're all playing on television, so my career in those things still continues. I feel that I know enough about the law after being involved in this show for 7 years to be able to recommend a good lawyer.